I am very excited to be here with you guys tonight. It was wonderful watching the other presentations tonight, and especially watching Billy Rulipaw, who I actually went to college with. I was in the drum line with Billy many years ago. I won't say how many years, but you can tell by our receding hairlines. It wasn't last week. And also the amazing Robert W. Smith, who in no universe should I ever have to follow Robert W. Smith on a show. But something that Billy actually said resonated with me. He was talking to you guys about how you lead people by having them want to follow you and not because they told you to. Robert W. Smith was that guy in my life. He's the greatest teacher I've ever had. And when I was in classes with him, you always wanted to do your best. It's not because he told you to do things, you wanted to do things. And I remember I so much wanted to impress Robert, he once asked me to babysit for his 1-year-old daughter. Why on God's green earth he ever asked a drummer to babysit his only child, I will never know. But thank God I had a girlfriend who had babysat before, and she went with me, and the baby did not die that night. And and I think I probably actually took half the money, which I really should not have done. Now, all that money should have gone to my girlfriend, now wife. But anyway, I am very excited to be here with you guys. And when Fran asked me to be a part of this weekend, he told me he liked to end this night with something fun, and he thought a comedian would be great, and he thought no better person than me. And I told him no. In absolutely no uncertain terms, I'm not doing that. And I understand why he thought I would be great for this. On paper, I'm perfect. I really am. I have been involved in music and band for 30 years. I marched drum corps, won a world championship, incidentally. Oh yeah, that's right. 93 Cadets handbell solo. Check that out. Some sweet TV time. I was a middle school and high school band director in Texas. I still write drill every summer of my life, and I'm a shockingly successful stand-up comedian with no ego and and several late-night TV appearances. So several being the word I use for two, but who's counting? So honestly, on paper, I am perfect. But the reality is, I'm a 43-year-old comedian, and I tell jokes about being a new dad and going to jury duty and getting encyclopedias when I was a kid. You guys have never even seen encyclopedias. Maybe in a museum. If you haven't, like imagine Wikipedia in 26 books with far less information, somewhat inaccurate, and surprisingly expensive. That's what encyclopedias are. The point is, I don't tell jokes about anything you guys are interested in. So when Fran asked me, I said, thank you, that's very kind of you, but I can't do it. And he said, don't worry about it. You don't have to tell jokes. You can talk about whatever you want. And I said, fine. If I don't have to tell jokes, and I don't have to be funny, and I can talk about whatever I want, I'm in. So tonight, I am here to talk about mortgage insurance. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, some of you are thinking, look, we're in high school. Why do we need to know about mortgage insurance? I say you're never too young to learn about mortgage insurance. I'm joking. I'm not talking about that. I'm going to tell you two stories tonight. And being here reminds me that being in band and music has been the single greatest influence in my entire life. I am a better person because of music. I am a more successful person because of music. And I am a happier person because of music. The lessons I learned in band have carried me through my life and into two careers that I absolutely adore. And two of these lessons stand out for me. I learned to be confident in band. And we've all heard our band directors say, if you're going to make a mistake, make it loud, right? Make it big, all right? I didn't understand it at the time, but it makes sense. It's a mistake either way, so be self-confident about it. I learned confidence in band. I also learned perseverance, all right? continuing on even though you are failing spectacularly. And trust me, when I fail big. But those are the two lessons I learned most in band, and 99.9% of the time, these lessons will carry you in the right direction in life. 0.1% of the time, you need to know when to ignore these lessons. And this first story is about my experience with that 0.1%. Now, when I went to grad school, I got a degree in percussion performance, and I had a chance to audition for a Broadway musical called Stomp. You guys know that show? Yes. So going to the audition, I knew that there was going to be a drumming part of the audition, and there was going to be a dance part of the audition, okay? Now, I had no dance experience whatsoever. The closest thing I had to dance experience, I played a video game once called Dance Dance Revolution. Yeah. Trust me, when I was done, there was no revolution. But I was a pretty good drummer, and I thought I could go to this audition, they would see what a good drummer I am, they wouldn't care that I was a horrible dancer. So, I went to Los Angeles for this audition. I got to the audition, there's 800 people in line. It was insane. So they sent someone from Stomp down the line, and they gave us a time slot to come back later in the day, but most importantly, to let us know that they hadn't planned on that many people showing up. They had canceled the drumming part of the audition. Yeah, it was just a dance audition. Now, this was my first opportunity to leave. I did not. Because I thought, maybe they're bluffing. Maybe they're just trying to thin this crowd a little bit, which in hindsight is insane. There's no way that was the reason. But I was going to persevere. And incidentally, the definition of perseverance is continuing on with an action, with a difficult action, with little or no chance of success. That's perseverance. So, I go back for my time slot at 3 o'clock, and still being kind of under the impression that they might have been bluffing, there was a lady running the audition. Her name was Sandy. And I asked her, I said, hey, are we going to do the drumming before or after the dancing? And she goes, we're not. This is a dance audition. We told you that 7 hours ago. And then she looked me right in my eyes and she goes, you can dance, right? And I said, Sandy, you're not going to believe it when you see it. This was my second opportunity to leave. I did not. Because in my mind, all I really had to do was be a better dancer than the other drummers in the room, and I'd be fine. I knew a lot of drummers, and none of them could dance. So, they gave us a form to fill out. They wanted to know our drumming experience and our dance experience. So I put down all the legitimate drumming stuff. And for dance experience, I put down that I went to prom junior and senior year in high school. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody slow dances to a Bon Jovi ballad better than me. So then they took about 40 of us into this big room. They put us in a circle, and they taught us a very simple dance step. And then they told us what they were going to do is we'd go around the circle, and each person individually would go out into the middle of the circle and do a dance solo for 30 seconds. Sweet Mary and Joseph, you've got to be kidding. They were not. Now, this was my third opportunity to leave. I did not. And I don't even know why at this point. It wasn't perseverance. I think caveman instinct had kicked in. Fight or flight. You guys know me. I don't flight. I dance. So the dance solos start. First person goes out in the middle of the circle. They are clearly a professional dancer. That's what they do for a living. And then the second person goes out in the circle. They're better than the first person. Third person goes out. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I started looking around the circle, and I noticed everyone was really fit, in shape. And they were all wearing clothes you'd wear to a dance audition if you actually knew what you were doing. And I was wearing baggy jeans and this bright yellow Cheerios shirt because I wanted to make sure that I got noticed. I didn't need to worry about getting noticed. That was about to happen all on its own. And looking around that circle, that was the exact moment then I realized I was the only drummer in the room. All the other drummers were smart enough to go home that morning. I was the only one that heard the words professional dance audition and said, yeah, why not? Almost a million reasons why not. That last guy did a standing backflip, and I can't even touch my toes. Let's start with that reason why not. But I couldn't worry about that at this point, okay? Because in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I have my first dance recital. So my turn comes up, and I wander out into the middle of the circle with kind of mild ambivalence. I was hoping like my lack of enthusiasm would bore everyone into not watching me, because we've all heard that phrase, dance like nobody's watching. I did not have that luxury. Everyone was watching. And they could all tell by my ridiculous Cheerios outfit that either I was such an unbelievably good dancer, I didn't have to concern myself with proper dance attire, or I was so unbelievably bad that they were going to be telling these stories for the rest of their lives. Probably that second one. But I got in the middle of the circle, took one more look around the room, and it almost felt like extra people had come in to bear witness to this travesty of dance that was about to happen. But perseverance had gotten me into this, and confidence had to get me out. So I started dancing. And I danced some more, and I kept on dancing, more dancing. I danced for what seemed like 2 or 3 solid minutes. And in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe they like what they see. Maybe they just wanted me to keep going. Those are the thoughts of a delusional lunatic. And they were my thoughts. But I remembered the old showbiz motto, leave them wanting more. So I stopped. I said, that's all you get? And the guy running the audition said, Tony, you still have 20 of your 30 seconds. But then he twisted the knife just a little more and he goes, but I'd stop if I were you. Yeah, maybe so. You guys want to see the dance that I did? Yeah? Never in a million years would I ever, not in this lifetime or the next. So that's the 0.1% of the time. You need to know when confidence is not enough. You need to know when to bow out. But the other 99.9% of the time, confidence and perseverance are what you need to, they're the most important tools in your arsenal. Perseverance is the reason I'm a stand-up comedian today. Because the early years of being a stand-up comedian are excruciatingly difficult. It's, you don't start at square one. Like you start at square zero and you have to learn to become a comedian in front of an audience every single time. You don't get to practice inside your apartment. It's always in front of an audience. Imagine if from the very first day you picked up your instrument, every time you went to practice, you had to do it in front of an audience. And imagine that audience is not always kind. And imagine that often they are drunk. That's what learning to be a stand-up comedian is. But perseverance got me through that early period. And a few years ago, I made my first late-night television appearance on Conan. 5 months later, I was on the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. And confidence got me through both of those. But I'm going to tell you about the first one. Getting on Craig Ferguson, I got a phone call on a Tuesday in February. And I didn't know the number on my phone, but it was from Los Angeles. And when you're in entertainment, anytime you see a phone call from LA, you're like, oh yes, it's Hollywood calling. It's never Hollywood calling. Never. Except this time it was. The lady introduced herself. She said, my name's Brittany. I'm the stand-up comedian booker for the Late Late Show. I saw your Conan appearance, and we'd love for you to be on the show Thursday. This is Tuesday afternoon. We are less than 48 hours away from that point. So I said, I would love to be on the show, and I had no idea how I was going to make any of it happen. But I said yes, immediately. I said, do you need to know what jokes I'm going to tell? She said, no, it just needs to be 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I said, all right, I'll see you in LA. Hung up the phone, immediately made a flight to LA. I was a little worried because it's February and there was a storm coming through, but I couldn't worry about that. Then I got on the phone and I booked 4 shows in New York City that night. I had to go and run this set and figure out what jokes are funny, and it had to come out to 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So I go to the first show. It ran 6.5 minutes, and I bombed. And in comedy, bombing, do you know what bombing is? Bombing is the worst. It means nobody's laughing at you, and they're angry and drunk. 6.5 minutes, I bombed. I go to the second show. It ran 5.5 minutes, and I bombed again. Almost on cue, as I'm leaving the second show, I get an automated phone call from Delta. They canceled my flight because the winter storm was coming. I did not need to worry about this, but I called Delta. I explained the situation. I said, I have to be in LA tomorrow because I'm being on TV on Thursday. So she booked me a flight that went through a different place, and that's the last I could worry about that. Go to the third show. It ran about 4:45. I bombed again. I go to the last show, 1 a.m., stand-up New York, 12 people in the audience, 4.5 minutes, bombed again. 4 times in a row, I just ate it. And I'm out of chances. Can't worry about that. I go home, try to pack, get some sleep, get up, go to the airport the next morning. And it's almost like a scene from a movie where the board is just littered with canceled flights because of the storm, except mine was still on there. Plane was there. I knew if we got on it and got out of there, I was going to make it to LA. And when those wheels came up underneath the airplane, it was the biggest relief of my life because I knew I'd make it. But I still had a problem. I had told all these jokes, no one had laughed, and I still don't know the timing. It needs to be 4 minutes and 15 seconds. My friend picks me up in LA. We go straight to a comedy club. I have one more chance. I've got to run this set. I've got to get it to the right time. This time, it went 3.5 minutes, and I bombed the worst of all. Now, this is where a less confident person would probably hit their breaking point, okay? I was going to be on TV in 16 hours. I had 5 chances to get this right, and I was 0 for 5. But that's the great thing about confidence, is once you have it, it's really hard to break you, okay? I was not worried about the jokes not working. It was the last thing in my mind, because I know even though they had failed 5 times in a row, I had done them 1,000 times before that, and they'd worked every time. So all I was worried about was timing. Got up the next morning, I paced for about 2 hours, going over the jokes in my head. And this is finally when my 25 years in music and percussion finally paid off. Because I know what the rhythm of the laughs are supposed to be. I know what they're supposed to sound like when they're good. So I timed it out, I got it perfect, I knew what 4 minutes and 15 seconds was. Car picks us up, takes us to CBS, I get dressed, they take me down behind the curtain. Craig Ferguson comes back to introduce himself. He, very first thing he says is, don't mess up. But he used much fouler language than that. But the gist of it was don't mess up. And he was joking. He wanted to put me at ease. Goes back out. I hear him reading my intro. The curtain opens. I see the clock that has 4 minutes and 15 seconds on it, and it's already counting down from the very second the curtain opened. I didn't plan on that. I thought I was going to have 4 minutes and 15 seconds from the time I started talking. But this clock is counting down, and for some reason, I get a standing ovation. Normally, I'd love that. But all I could think was, please sit down. You're burning up all my time. But being a percussionist and rhythm saved me again. I knew I was down a few seconds. I sped up, and I landed exactly on 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Confidence got me through that. Now, I'm running late. I am going to wrap this up. You guys, you're at the beginning of your lives in music, and I'm jealous of you, and I'm excited for you. But I do want you to remember, when it gets tough, when you've played that thing 100 times, and it's still not right, and it would be so easy to go play Xbox or PlayStation or whatever it is you kids play these days. Just remember that becoming confident and persevering, it's not just for present day you, it's for future you, okay? Becoming confident and learning perseverance is a gift that you give yourself for 20 years down the road when you really need it. And learning very early on that you're not a very good dancer, that's a gift you give everyone else. Thank you guys so much for listening to me tonight. I really appreciate it.